All right, so I do know one thing is I was just going to talk about some of the steps that I've taken to try and reassure myself that things are not as bad as I think.
Okay. I do have
And then, huh?
I do. I saw or I heard a cool saying about like two mistakes everybody makes is that for one you worry about what other people think of you or what other people think of you, and you also make the mistake of thinking that more people are thinking of you than actually are. And I think you
Right.
might have said something similar to that.
Well, yeah, 100%. And it's incredibly self-centered to think that, like, obviously that's not what people are going for, but when you think about it, it is incredibly self-centered to think that all these other people are thinking positively or negatively about you.
Right.
And so it's really silly to think that, like, this has been bothering me for months. I'll bet they just stew on it. They're just sitting there and they're thinking, this dude's a piece of crap.
Right.
So, um, something that I've been doing to fix that feeling, because I'm so worried about what other people are thinking, um, and thinking that they're thinking negative thoughts like, oh, it's taking them forever to do this, or I asked them to do that. So about 2 weeks ago, I guess, my wife's aunt had texted me and she said, hey, were you still wanting to do pictures for my daughter for her 16th birthday? And I said, yeah, absolutely. um, when works for you? And so she told me, and I said, okay, well, yeah, we'll talk at dinner later, because she always comes over to Jamie's parents for dinner.
Yeah.
And she got there and she sat down, and the second she walked in the door, I wanted to ask her, but I just waited. I waited, and I just got enough courage, and I said, all right, I need to ask you a question, and I need you to be honest with me, because this is really for me and helping me, like, understand. And she said, okay. And I said, how long have you been thinking about asking me about that? Because she had asked me about this prior. So
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't preface it by saying she had asked me about this a couple months ago, asked me if I'd be interested eventually, and then she had asked me again the other day. And so when I asked her, I said, how long have you been thinking about asking me again? And
Yeah.
she's like, I don't know. I said, has it been a while? Has it been a few weeks or something? She goes, no, I thought of it earlier, and I thought, oh yeah, well, I need to ask Dustin again. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, why? And I was like, I need to know, or I need to know if you were thinking about that the whole time. I knew you weren't, but I need to hear you say it. And
Yeah.
so I've I have done that a few times now, where I've just asked somebody blatantly. It might be a little weird for them, but it helps me to understand that, like, hey, uh, A, people are not thinking negatively about me all the time.
Yeah.
And then B, like, there are other things to be worrying about instead of the possible someone not liking what I'm doing, or somebody thinking what I'm doing stupid.
Yeah.
And so that was, I don't know, it felt good, to have some of that validation, I guess.
Right.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. I agree. I'm one of those people too that thinks like just shits on my mind, and I just assume that all the negative things I'm thinking of are currently going through, anybody's lives that those
Yeah.
negative things might pertain to. So, yeah, and it's very selfish to think that way, and it's very counterproductive, right?
Yeah.
We waste so much time worrying, just like your post the other, just worrying about things that aren't even, not. It's so minuscule in other people's lives, but it
Yeah.
consumes us.
Yeah. Yeah. It will consume an entire day, or furthermore, there are things that I've said years back And
Yeah.
I still think about them like, oh man, I sounded so stupid in front of them. And I'll bet if I said, hey, do you remember that time that I said X, Y, and Z? They're like, I have zero idea what you're talking about. I'm like, well, it's been eating at me for 27 years, you know?
They're like, oh, okay.
Something's wrong with this dude, you know?